Self-skepticism for pure analysis. This is such an important lesson, and it's near and dear to me that I get to share it with all of you. Shalom everyone, my name is Nakaraya. Today we're going to be discussing self-skepticism for pure analysis, and I'm going to really try my best to make this nice and clear for everyone. A little piece of lore about myself. When I was an adolescent, I was in homeschool. I was homeschooled, and what I came to realize was I was going to be pretty restricted as far as social interaction was concerned, right? With homeschooling does come isolation, and what I did know, however, was that life is really just about people, and if you're good with people, then you'll be good at life. That much I understood. And so that was the sort of event that spiraled my psychology studies as far as behaviors and body language and things to say, me reading a lot more so that I could articulate myself better, increasing my vocabulary and so forth. And it worked a lot, but it wouldn't have been as effective if I didn't teach myself to really ask myself, well, better yet, question myself on every single thing that I did, every single thing that I thought, and why I thought and why I acted in those specific mannerisms. And I think that there's not a lot of people doing that, to say the least, on the matter. And so, with that being said, I have quite a bit of curriculum to cover. So, just get on right to it. Explaining the importance of self-analyzation. How no one else will do it for you. Yes, no one else will do this for you, indeed. And it's not because of the fact that humans are innately selfish, but it's just because no one else, it's literally impossible for anyone else to do it for you. No one will and no one should be able to think for you. And we're going to delve into exactly what I mean by that. But I'm sure all of you kind of get the point. You shouldn't allow your brain to fall into the hands of people who may or may not want the best for you. It's best to take that into your own hands. And with that sense of freedom, because it really is freedom, people tend to fail to realize that freedom comes with increased responsibility, because all of that responsibility now falls upon you. You holding the significant power to actually possess your freedom now makes you responsible for what you do with that freedom. Will you be famous or infamous in the spiritual realm? You must take control of your mind, because it's the only thing that you can change, manipulate, control. And as humans, it is natural for us to try to alter our exterior environments and wanting to manipulate them in such a way that would be desirable. But what I often preach to people is that if you, because you're not really capable of changing anyone, are you? But the closest you can get to it, the best that you can hope for, is actually starting with yourself. Change yourself, and people might look at you and decide that they would like to change as well. And that works on both ends of the spectrum of moral compass. If you are changing in a positive manner, you might inspire people to do things that are positive. And of course, positivity and negativity varies from person to person across wide ranges of cultures. But as far as the biblical anthology is concerned, especially, this is important for Israelites. If you want people to seek the Most High, then you should act like the Most High wants you to act. People should look at you and see the Most High, not to the devil, which is conversely, you have people who are negative, to say the least, and that it may not be inspiring, but it can be contagious. Energy is very, very contagious. So, with that being said, you really need to watch yourself, and then subsequently watch who is watching you, and make sure that whatever you decide to project out to the world is at least something that accurately represents you and what you desire to stand for. Okay. Okay, so I have a list here for things that you should be skeptical about. So, likes, dislikes, actions, and belief. The list obviously goes on and on, but this is a good start based off of what I've done for myself. And so what I mean by likes is, why do you like what you like? And you have to be precise with this. And the thing is, this exercise, it's a lifestyle. For everyone who's listening, ladies and gentlemen, this is really a lifestyle. You should not listen to this video and think to yourself, oh, okay, well, I'm going to try this and see how it goes. Like, no, this is an intentional decision to lay the foundation for self-development. You should not watch this video or listen to this lesson, regardless of who's teaching it, by the way, with feigned indifference. You need to actually delve and allow yourself to just be completely submerged in this philosophy, which is truly, quite simplistically, think before you speak and think before you act. But think deeply, though. You have to think deeply. And so, precision is going to be very valuable here. Why do I like what I like? Ask yourself, and think of the psychology behind this, because Sigmund Freud, he had some groundbreaking research as far as clinical psychology is concerned regarding how we identify the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious. And what is quite clear is that no human is ever truly able to 100% grasp the convoluted, deeply hidden conundrums of the unconscious. But what you can do is tap into it from time to time. But I'd argue that you will never be able to tap into it without two things. One, without thinking deeply, and two, without questions. Okay? You could argue three, the desire to answer those questions, regardless of how you might feel, because not all the time are the answers going to be pleasant, to say the least. But why do you like? Be precise. Okay? Dislikes. I'd honestly think this is more important, because dislikes tend to have a negative connotation, and when you have a negative connotation of person, place, or thing, then you tend to have, usually people have the proclivity to display that in negative or harmful ways to themselves or others. So I'd argue that this is a little more important than likes. Likes is more so to understand yourself better, because I believe I've talked about this in earlier videos, which is, I don't believe that anyone is truly capable of really, really knowing someone, right? And I believe that this is backed biblically to a certain degree, because the Most High, His judgment is always just, and it's better than ours. Because why? Well, because we judge by flesh and behavior and what little we do know about psychology and humans and, the humanities and history. But the Most High judges each individual specifically based off of the contents of their heart, which is, as you can imagine, a vast difference in comparison, right? It's far more accurate. And so, with that being said, I also don't believe that you can know yourself fully 100%. Because for you to know yourself, in my opinion, for you to truly, truly know yourself 100%, it implies that you have the same definitional competence of the Most High in regards to how He's able to understand human hearts and souls. And I don't believe that that's possible. I think you can probably get close, of course, but I don't think anyone can ever get 100%. And that's just a part of the journey, I think it was Sadhguru who, or no, was it Jordan Peterson or some other person? Someone said that the main, basically one of, if not the most main reason for existence is adventure. And that just adds on to the adventure. That's a whole other video. But obviously, me being an Israelite, I personally believe that our existence and the true meaning of life is deeply rooted in what it means to love, right? And that's another video. That's actually a really good video. I should probably do that one. But anyways, completely off topic. Dislikes. Always be able to answer why you feel harshly about something, to the point of absolute clarity to the inquisitor, right? So if someone asks you, "Oh, why do you dislike this?" It's one of my pet peeves, to be frank. The way I was raised, my father always... Now, here's a caveat. My father would always say that I don't know is not an answer. Now, obviously, if you don't know something, do share the fact that you don't know, right? Don't be, facetious. But if someone, in my opinion, in order to really articulate what my father was teaching me in my youth, is no one should ever be able to ask you a question about you that you haven't at least thought about enough to have some input, right? Because obviously, if you don't 100% know yourself, then there are going to be some things about you that you genuinely don't know, hence the unconscious. But most of the time, if people ask you questions about something that you dislike, and you just genuinely don't have an answer, you just dislike it. Me personally, it's a pet peeve of mine because, and it sounds harsh, but for me, it's like I usually think very deeply about things to the point where I try to find multiple answers sometimes for a singular question about myself. And I sort of pride myself on the fact that I don't think anyone could ask me a question that I haven't already considered and at least come up with some sort of language to identify my stance on the matter. I don't think anyone should be able to ask you a question about you and then your only response is you don't know, right? It shows that you lack depth, which is why this is so important in my opinion. People need to start thinking deeply. Not think more, not overthink, think deeply. Literally spend a good 20 minutes on just one thought. Watch how your brain handles the situation. It's phenomenal what the human brain can do. Okay. Actions. Why did I do that? That in quotes. And what thoughts led me to that point? Rather good, Oriel. To that point. Because when we discussed this as well, it's that thoughts, everything starts with the mind. So thoughts lead to actions, actions lead to habits, habits lead to, I believe it's character, character leads to destiny. So what thoughts led me to the point of this action? And then take deep thought about that. Rather good or ill, because what tends to happen, especially us as Israelites, we have wicked imaginations and wicked thoughts. We understand this, we understand the biblical literature which states that we need to bring those wicked thoughts into the submission or the captivity of Christ. But I did some studying. I don't know if, hopefully this will spread some awareness, but what Paul actually states in that scripture is to bring every thought into the obedience of Christ. So that includes good thoughts. And I think that there's massive wisdom in that. I believe that, at least me for one, when I first read the scripture, it's like, okay, well, when I have wicked thoughts or just any bad thought or ill will or anything, I need to get that in check. And it's like, well, absolutely right. But when it comes to the good as well, you need to harness that, right? Because what will tend to happen is those good thoughts, and I write about this in my book in chapter 7, those thoughts, they're basically battlements in your mind. And your mind is that castle. And so if you start accumulating so many positive thoughts that are coming from a place of peace and wisdom from the Most High, that's going to be your spiritual defense against wicked thoughts. That is why you are to bring every single thought, because if it passes the test of the obedience of Christ, then guess what? You are now building a spiritual mental defense mechanism towards negativity. That's very, very profound. And you can literally think deeply about that. Just that. You can pause the video right now and just think deeply about that particular subject. Okay? Good or ill. That's very, very important. Lastly, we have belief. Never believe in something, and I stress this so heavily, never believe in something without knowing exactly why or where it came from and how it correlates to the application of your truth/experience. Right? Now, this is a very big topic, especially in religion, in my opinion. People tend to, whether it's Christian, Muslim, Hindu, etc., people tend to, and this is not necessarily a negative thing, people tend to subscribe to the religious ideals of their parents or their guardians, whoever raised them. And the only issue with that is what tends to happen is you start to believe things, and like I said, we discussed this earlier. You start to believe things not necessarily because you believe them or you've thought deeply enough about them and how that philosophy correlates to your existence, but because it's familiar. And familiarity can be very, very dangerous if what's toxic is familiar. Because now you're just familiar with toxicity. That doesn't make it healthy, it just means you're familiar with it. Right? That doesn't... Anyways, but with religion specifically, I encourage every single person, do your own research and your own study. The scriptures state, study to show thyself approved. And the scriptures even teach you how to study. So you have to do that, because no one is responsible for your soul but you. So it doesn't make any mathematical sense. If you are responsible for your soul, why would you give the responsibility of a whole belief system to someone else, regardless of who that person is, right? And they may be right, but you need to come to that decision and be led by the Most High, right? That's very, very important. Never believe, and that's obviously not just subject to religion, but you need to be aware of that for everything that you believe, because belief is stronger than thought. Belief is an amalgamation of so many different thoughts that correspond into a structure that you're willing to die on. Because that's one of the main differences between belief and thought, in my opinion, at the very least. People die for beliefs every day. You know? So you need to be careful with that. Are you willing to die for your belief? If you're not, then that's indicative of the idea that you haven't thought deeply enough about it. Maybe you don't truly believe it. Right? So these are really, really important questions that I've asked myself multiple times, to where I'm so sure that the questions now disgust me. Right? Because it's so repetitive. But truly, dig deep here. Okay? And pray about it too. Pray and fast. Okay, so that's all of the curriculum. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to read you guys this very, very beautiful poem. This poem is called If. I forget who the author is. It's gonna bug me. I don't know why it's not on the paper. Ooh, I forget his name. That's gonna bug me so much. Ooh, it's gonna bug me. Okay, it's fine. So I'm gonna read this, and you'll find out exactly why in a moment. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream, and not make dreams your master, if you can think, and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can... if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or which the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings, and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn along after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count on you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. This is a very, very beautiful poem, and I'm not going to go too deeply into this because I'm already running short on time, but it's one of truth, it's one of fatherhood, and it's coming from a place of wisdom. The main concept that I want to just fixate on here with that poem is calm in the midst of chaos. This is a philosophy that it's not new by any means, but it's all throughout biblical literature, and the two Greek philosophers that I can think of right now that come to mind is Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, who believe the same thing, basically Stoicism. And it's like, you need to be calm and composed while everything around you is falling apart, and there is power in that. There is so much power in that. For every single person, specifically targeted for the demographic of young men, if you can control your mind, if you can show control and composure in the most hectic situations, you have the power to move mountains, because it takes stoicism, it takes wisdom, it takes faith, it takes discipline, and strength, really. And I challenge all of you. I challenge every single person watching right now. I want you to try to stay calm, cool, and collected for one whole day. Just one whole day. And I want you to see how powerful you feel. Really feel the dopaminergic effect of maintaining your cool while everyone is losing their mind. And what's eventually going to happen is you're going to have this illustration of wisdom about you, and people are going to be very attracted to that. So I hope for you all to meditate on that, and I hope truly that this video and this content will help someone, anyone. And that will be all. And I'll see you guys next week. I hope you guys leave, like, comment, share, subscribe, leave video recommendations, please. That's mainly what I care about, is video recommendations. And that seems to be about it. I'll see you all next week. Hope you guys stay safe, stay dangerous, and be wise. Shalom.